All right, it's my pleasure to welcome in. Well, you know him from Dark Side of the Ring, one of the producers, writers, creators, the whole thing. You know him from his One Fucking Hour podcast, which is really cool. And also the thing that I got involved with, where I'm very happy and honored that he invited me, the great Hulu series Into the Void, which is eight documentaries about heavy metal, which came out really good. If you have not seen it, immediately go to Hulu, or if you're in Canada, you can find it on Crave. Mr. Aaron Husney, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's Evan Husney, though.
What did I say?
Aaron.
Oh, sorry. I'm on this stupid sinus medication. It's making me crazy.
Oh, no worries.
Evan Husney. Evan Husney, how are you, sir?
Good, man. So glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, man, thanks so much for all your help on Into the Void. Everything came out great, and we could have done it without you. So I really appreciate that.
Oh man, thanks. It was an honor to be a part of it, and anytime I can help something cool like that, and it came out so great too. Like I said earlier, if you haven't seen it yet, please go out and check it out.
Sweet,
really good. You guys did a phenomenal job. Really,
thank you so much
about the whole thing. So
yeah, it was a complete labor of love. So I appreciate that.
And you could tell, I think, too. And every feedback I've heard from every single person was nothing but positive. So
that's great. Oh, awesome to hear.
Yeah, everybody.
Great.
So
awesome,
super cool. And a lot of people that didn't even know anything to do with it. I was talking to my buddy Chef Chris Santos, and he was sick. And we were talking about like what TV shows he was watching. I said, you should check out this show called Into the Void on Hulu. He said, oh, I've been watching it. It's amazing. I said,
oh cool. Great. That's cool.
Yeah. I said, yeah, I'm involved in it. He said, I had no idea. I said, well, the credits go by quick, but it's all good. But he loved it. He loved all of it.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
It's cool to hear. And today we get to talk about something that you've most coolly, is that a word? Most let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Anyway, Cirith Ungol is in there as your kind of theme song, which of course is touches my heart because I love Cirith Ungol. And those of you that don't know the background on Cirith Ungol, which there probably are a few of you, but I'm sure most of you do know. But really quickly, they were a band from the early '80s, started in Ventura, California, which is about an hour north of Hollywood, LA. So they kind of weren't part of the scene, and they just put out a couple of records all by themselves up there. The second one being King of the Dead, which we're going to talk about that song today. Yep. And I was working at a record store, and I heard the records and was like, man, this band is amazing. So I got in touch with them, and we put them on the Metal Massacre. We put out a couple of records with them. We have most of the catalog now. But when they came out, nobody knew what to make of them, because they were really different. They come down and they'd open for Fate's Warning and Armored Saint, and I can't remember if they ever played with Metallica, but they come and play all these shows, and I thought they're incredible. But the crowd was always kind of like, you get the people up front that were really into it. But we put out a DVD from the Country Club of one of their shows, and cool. It's kind of. Well, it's an amazing show, but only like the first, 2 rows of the crowd are into it. Everybody else is just kind of staring at them.
Yeah.
So all that being said, they kind of nothing ever really happened with them. They kind of went away after putting out a few records, which was a bummer for me. And then all of a sudden, I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was like late, probably early 2000s. I was in Europe at one of the festivals over there. All of a sudden I start seeing Cirith Ungol shirts. On people there. I'm like, what is this all about? So I asking our staff in Germany, said, oh yeah, all of a sudden they're having this big renaissance now because people found them in the underground, and they're like one of these cool bands to like. So all that started the whole thing, and they've came back and have done a bunch of shows. And a lot of people who didn't like them at first in the early 80s are now like, I can't believe I missed out on this band and stuff. So that's the backstory here. So you're a little bit younger. Yeah. How did you first come in contact with Cirith Ungol?
Well, Cirith Ungol, I want to say, in my mid-20s, I was really diving deep into underground metal, stuff, from the 80s. And getting really into, different types of metal from all over the world. And I had a lot of, real super head, metalhead friends who were into a lot of deep cut, rare stuff. And we started swapping stuff around. Like, I got really into, I've shown this to you before. I got really into, Dark Corridor from Italy, one of my favorites, Manila Road, Crystal Logic, stuff, Gotham City from Sweden. I just was collecting a lot of this stuff and was just really into it, just super, super into this stuff. And Cirith Ungol came, across my desk, or people had recommended it to me, and it just blew me away. It was so amazing and unique, and the vocals and just the sort of textural quality of all of it just really impressed the hell out of me. A huge impression on me. But it wasn't until now, the reason when you asked me to be on this show and sort of pick a song that could be in the top 100, this is funny because I swear to you, this is what happened. About 5 years ago, me and my friends, my metal friends, were going to collaborate on making a top 100 metal songs list. Okay, not for a show or anything, just to do it and unveil it to each other. Who knows? And I was working on my top 100 list, so I never actually finished it because it's way too insane of an undertaking. But I was working on it, and I was going through re-listening to everything that I'd liked over the years, you know, because when you take on something like this, it's hard to it's so much ground you could cover with this, with all the subgenres and all the decades and everything. And so I had this little for whatever reason, I felt like if I could get somebody like a friend of mine who really isn't a metal head, and I could kind of live vicariously through him as he's listening to some of my picks and sort of see how he reacts. It's almost like you're re-experiencing the music for the first time through somebody else's eyes. You know what I mean? So I had my friend over, who's a very interesting person. He's got very esoteric tastes. He's not he likes some metal bands, but he's into all sorts of different stuff. Super esoteric, very eclectic taste, but he likes underground, rare, obscure music. And so I'm playing him all this stuff, and I'm just like, hey, like, what do you think of Merciful Fate? And I'm putting on a Merciful Fate song, and then I was like, give me your rating. Like, what do you think? And he'd be like, 7.8, and I'd be like, whoa, like that's low, or I'd be putting on Dark Quarter, and it's like 8.2, and I'm like, geez, and I'm putting on certain stuff. But then I put on Cirith Ungol for him, and I got to get it here. Here we go. It's King of the Dead, original, press, of course.
And again,
what is
the
this?
incredible artwork.
Oh yeah, right, just amazing. Yeah, so I put on King of the Dead, and right from note 1 of this song, which is just the bass going, is the first note, and it's just a series of repeated badoms, and the bass has like this very like almost underwater like slight chorus effect on it or something. It's a very unusual sound, and I think instantaneously he felt like his reaction to it was, whoa, this is like different, and it's kind of got some, it's just weird. It's a weird choice, and it has a interesting, unique, singular vibe right from the first. Like interesting people who are thinking on a different plane, not your typical metal sort of, where metal can kind of regurgitate on itself a little bit, and this is just like immediately captures your attention with and so that immediately arrested my friend. He's like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? And then I remember, big guitar slide comes in, and then heavy riffage. It's epic, it's building. Then there's this another unusual choice. There is a fuzz guitar solo. Okay, it's got almost like a fuzz tone quality, which is again very uncharacteristic texture for a metal guitar solo. So immediately you're just like, whoa, what is going on here? These are some weird stuff they're bringing to the table, but it's really working. Then big doom metal riff drops in, and it's like, super head chugger, it's great, super great riff. And then the vocals, and that's the test, right? What's the vocal gonna be? And the vocal drops in, and it's just, you would have ever anticipated it to be this shrieking, what sounds like a shrieking skeleton standing on top of a mountain. And it's just the coolest fucking thing ever. And I think, and then so my friend, to, long story short, he just was like 10, wow. Like this is a 10, and so ever since then, I've kind of like, I don't know, I got to really re-experience the genius of this song kind of through his appreciation of it. Someone who doesn't, who only checks in on metal when it's weird and interesting,
Yeah.
and he really vibed with this like straight away, so
Cirith Ungol is definitely weird. I think that was really the thing with them when they first came out, was they didn't fit in any sort of scene whatsoever. And
right.
then years later, it's very progressive. There's a whole lot of different stuff going on there. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting because they came from Ventura, California. If you've ever been to Ventura, it's a sleepy
Yeah,
little
yeah,
beach
yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Kind of very, very Beach Boysy sort of vibe to it. And the four guys in the band are all really unique individuals. And Jerry, the guitar player, who
Oh,
sadly passed away way too soon.
yeah, but amazing.
He was a guitar genius, but that's all he really knew. Like he probably, I mean, I knew him for, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, 13 years. He might have said 100 words to me in the entire time.
Wow.
And we were in the studio together, and he was a pretty quiet guy, but it clearly came out as guitar playing because it's just so different and unique.
That's what I'm saying. You can tell that he might be like, not to discredit anybody, but he might be like the true visionary there in terms of bringing some X factor to the writing or the sound of
musically 100%. Jerry was the guy. I mean, the bass player was very good too, and he had a lot to do with it, Michael. And of course, and of course, Tim, the singer, like one of my favorite singers ever, and one of the nicest guys of all time.
So great, so great.
Just love them. But it's interesting because when you're doing this podcast has been really fascinating for me because we're talking about different genres and who started what and who came from where and what fits in someplace. And a band like Cirith Ungol really does now fit in with the whole progressive metal thing, because when they were doing it, that didn't really exist necessarily.
I know. The epic metal kind of thing too.
Yeah, exactly. And long songs, but they kind of ended up fitting in. And I just love the fact that they have this second career. And those guys were such good guys, and I felt so terrible because I thought they were just so incredible.
Yeah, they never kind of made it. And it was interesting, like after I became, like, again, seeing my friend freak out about this kind of sent me down this whole other, I had my own renaissance with Cirith Ungol after that. And I remember you could I sign up for their Patreon or something, and you could get all these interesting old photos and background to the story of the band. And I think that, don't quote me, but I think that the band, up until their rediscovery in the 2000s, they had never played a show outside of California except for maybe Mexico City or something.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
They never went on a tour. They never played Europe. They never played anywhere.
Right.
And so when the whole thing was happening, quick story, when the whole thing was happening, where they were becoming, especially in Europe, they were becoming this like cult thing.
Right.
Tim, the lead singer, his son was a huge Killswitch Engage fan. He said, "Hey, can you get me? They're playing at the Palladium. Can you get me tickets?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course, no problem." So I got him the tickets, and talked to him and his son. And I talked to Tim. I said, "Man, you guys are really starting to blow up over in Europe, and there's like this kind of cult following.
Yeah.
Would you guys ever want to play some shows or something again? Because I think that there would be." He's like, "Nah, I'm too old, man. I'm too old and stuff." But they eventually got offered a pretty decent amount of money to go over to Europe and play, and that's kind of when they went out and played.
They sounded incredible. I mean, his voice still just as evil and menacing as ever.
Yeah.
And I had seen them in Brooklyn maybe in 2016 or something around there, and they were fantastic. But I just, that idea that they kind of never broke out of their sort of homegrown area there, I think just further lends itself to that whatever that isolation was like. It's just like that. I love that sort of the outsider approach, where it's like people who are just kind of in a vacuum making their own music, and that's what makes it interesting and more unique to me. And one other thing too that I think my friend also responded to was the sound of the guitars, the texture sound of the guitars. It's not like, when did this album come out? 84? Is that what? 84.
Oh no, that's well, that might be the reissue. I think the original record came out in 80.
No, this is the Enigma.
The original one?
Yeah, this is the original Enigma. I think it was 84. It might have been recorded slightly before then.
Yeah, it was recorded a little earlier. Hey, Chris,
it might have been recorded a little. Oh, you're right.
Put something up there, because originally they put it out themselves, I believe, and then we got them together with Enigma because that was where the story.
Okay,
there's something story like that. So, but I think that
says July 1984
was when the album came out. Does it say when it was recorded? Because I thought it was earlier than that.
It might have been like recorded earlier, but
hang on. It does not say when it was recorded.
Well, their first
I can
album-
dig a little deeper, but it doesn't.
That's fine.
Yeah,
The first album is
Frost and
81.
Fire was 81. So
81,
yeah.
but yeah, okay.
That's what I'm saying. I think they recorded it fairly quickly after Frost and Fire.
Oh,
Of course,
cool.
my brain is not functioning well today. My sinus has been killing me, so I took this nasal spray that I've never taken before. Today, I'm kind of like, I'm a little loopy.
Ungled out right now.
I'm perfectly ungled out for the Ungle podcast. Yes.
No, but what I was gonna say is, anyway, there's this texture to the music, and that just feels like their influences extend beyond just metal.
Oh God, yes, absolutely.
And that's evidence completely of, if you any Cirith Ungol heads out there, go pick up the Orange tape, which came out not too long ago, which they re-released their demo tracks from the 70s. Yep. And they're these super far out, like experimental little ditties that they're doing essentially on tape. And this lays out entirely that maybe it was Jerry or somebody else definitely was listening to punk, for sure. That there's an element in there of some sort of punk influence, some sort of 70s real, like I keep saying, like patina or texture that the music has. Like, to me, and my friend Tom clocked this when he first listened to it too, that Cirith Ungol like really evokes that late 70s like black light poster aesthetic, like a very like exactly. or like airbrush painting on the side of a van in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And there's something also uniquely California about it too, like that sound, like what was going on in California in the late 70s. That more sort of punk hardcore thing, because like it does feel like, there could be surfboards in that van too, there could be. And so like there's a little bit of that in there, and I think that's what makes it just so unique, And
the imagery too is a big thing, because I still can't remember how they got this done, but Michael Whalen is massively famous artist that's done
fantasy artist,
comic books and everything,
yeah.
And they reached out to him when they were nothing. They were nobody, and said, hey, they wanted to use one of his art pieces for their first album, which they put out themselves. And he wrote him back and said, yeah, sure, no problem. And he put out every single record we did with them was one of his creations, which was just amazing. He was so cool and let this little tiny underground band use his artwork. But you never know. I mean, we've used Dali's artwork on some stuff, which is
it's so cool. I mean, it's hugely makes the albums that much more iconic with that artwork. Of course. And so when it came time to do Into the Void, which is really funny, we were designing the opening credit sequence with this company Reactive in Toronto. And, we have a composer, Andrew Gordon McPherson, who works with us on all of our shows, Dark Side of the Ring. He did the score for Into the Void too. And, he was on the side developing what, he was going to propose as his opening credit sequence. And, because I'm all ungled out, I'm like, just put in Ungol, man, like just drop the Ungol in there, and of course we did, and we all fell in love with it, and it's like impossible to not marry it to that image once you've experienced it. And so I was like, sorry, Andrew, like you don't get to compose the opening credits because this is just too fucking epic, man. I'm sorry. And it was awesome that, when we reached out to the band and they were stoked about it, and we were able to work out a deal for that. And like, it's just great, so the fact that like my love and passion for this band, we're able to work it into the show is just that much more cool. And I hope people get to, what is that? That sounds cool. And they go check it out, because I think they're so underrated. I mean, they are selling out shows, in festivals, and people are now majorly fans of this band, but I still think they're so underappreciated. Like, I remember when we were interviewing Phil Anselmo for the show, for the Pantera episode, and, he was kind of like, what kind of metal do you like, And I'm trying, I'm sort of like, Cirith Ungol. And he goes, Cirith Ungol, like, you like some weird metal, man, or whatever. But he remembered them, and he was Chaos Descends. I remember he did that, and we were chuckling about that. Yeah.
It fits perfectly in the show and the credits and everything. And we're talking about this song that we're talking about today, King of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
The real cool part is the theme music and kind of the bumper music in different parts of the show, which just it just works out so perfectly. I was like, I'm so happy that everything worked out, that you guys were able to use that.
Oh, it's just, as a fan, it's like a dream come true. You know, it's like I never would have imagined 5 years ago when I'm playing this song for my friend, and he's like 10. It's a 10, you know, and then like here we
Well,
are.
he
It's like
clearly
in our
has good
show.
taste, of course.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, Merciful Fate was 7-8 and this was a 10, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
love
it's always
that.
interesting to get people's perspectives, and I think that's one thing about Cirith Ungol is they're so outside of the box. Uh,
Yes.
a little bit less today, just because there's been so much music, and they kind of do fit somewhere
It's
in
true.
the metal
Yes.
worlds, but
Yeah.
it's still they're so different. But that also is what I think that bands that are different, and any band that's super successful is going to be different, and
Yeah.
that's what I love, and that's what I loved about them even at first was that no one sounds like this. And it was
Mhm.
so weird in the
Mhm.
early 80s that I said no got it, but I loved it. But that's why their whole story is just such a great story, that the whole Renaissance and stuff. But they do
Yeah.
kind of fit now, but they still, if you say, well, what does Cirith Ungol sound like? And go, I mean,
Yeah, I
who
know.
do you compare them to, right?
Well, I mean, there is a doom metal quality to it, which I think
Yes.
makes it now more of an accessible entry point. Because,
Yes.
like, obviously, King of the Dead, the song in question today, has some incredible like doom breakdowns that are, just the main riff of the song is very like, doom Candlemassy almost in a way,
Mhm.
and which is cool. But it's that shrill, screeching from hell, like demon on a mountain kind of vocal that's so cool. And that's such a bold choice on his part too. And I think it's like, King Diamond is a bold choice. Like his vocal style is very bold and unique, obviously. But this is another just really intentional choice that's not really based on much, And it's like he's doing it all the way back into the late 70s when they're doing demos of their albums. And their demos are even crazier. If you go
Yeah.
back and you pick up the Frost and Fire demos, this is their first album.
Yep.
Oh, and real quick, this album too, incredible. But further evidence of my punk influence sort of thesis is the song "I'm Alive" is very punk, man. And I'm alive, and it's like, and I just think that's super cool. But anyway, the demo of the song "Frost and Fire" has wicked synthesizer keyboards in it that are like, it's such this weird idea where like, yeah, I guess let's jam with that guy down the street. I don't know what he's going to bring to the jam, but he brings his, and it just adds this, and it really feels like early, it's like new wave of British heavy metal meets like the Screamers in LA or something. Like it's so weird, but it's amazing. And that's why I love this band. They got so many of the right things. They're so hip. That's the thing. Like they're probably nerdy and dorky and too weird for then. But
Oh yeah.
now it's like they're hip is how I
Yeah.
would look at it,
Yeah, like I said, when I
Yeah.
first started seeing Cirith Ungol shirts in Europe, I'm like, what is going on here? And then
Yeah,
just kind of found
they're
out
ahead
there's
of
this
their
whole
time.
this whole
Yeah.
underground
Mhm.
society that loves Cirith Ungol, and I was like, wait, what? And
Yeah.
started seeing the catalog selling more, and then kind
Yeah.
of all took over from there.
Yeah.
The punk influence is really interesting because I'm trying to remember. I don't recall that there's a lot of punk influence on them, but they were kind of all over the map. Like
But it also could have
each
just
guy
been
liked different stuff.
it could have just been what was in the air at the time. It's like some of that California air got in there, to kind of give it that sort of, or it's just like, there is something about them too. I don't want to say untrained, but it's like self-trained, kind of, it is that kind of outsider artist quality that it has, where it's like these guys probably just learned their instruments on their own, and
Yep.
and that's what I infer from it. I don't know if it's true, but it sounds like they're just completely 100% working in their own vacuum, and it could have
Well,
just been what's on the radio influencing them.
Yeah, that's very true because the first two records they just made by themselves.
Right.
They
That's
made it up in Ventura in a little studio, produced,
yeah,
kind of produced it more or less themselves. And then,
yeah.
we did the third record. Bill Vittori and I produced that one.
Another great album, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It was a little. I think they were trying to be a little bit more. They were trying to be more metal to kind of fit in.
Commercial,
I think,
maybe.
yeah, but not really
Yep.
commercial, just heavier,
Well,
like more
sure,
traditional metal-ish.
Yeah.
Kind of fit in, but it still is
Yeah.
a really kind of interesting
Chaos
record.
Descends is a banger. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. And like I said, I love bands like this that are so different. And like you
Mhm.
said, they don't fit in anywhere. And I just, again, it just this story just blows me out. Even the fact that you love it so much, and it's in this really cool TV show now that's
Yeah.
all over the place. It's like, wow, this is just, if you would have told me this in
I know.
1987
Yeah.
when the band was pretty much done and
Yeah.
over with, and
I know.
that,
Well,
I
that
don't
is-
think anybody of us would have believed it.
And that is part like that is I'm glad for them that they get this renaissance and they're being able to tour, and people are rediscovering the music. But there is a tragic side to it too, which is Jerry passed away before any of this, right? Like he passed away before any of the resurgence.
Way before, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm reading between the lines here and kind of inferring this on my own, but I would have to imagine that being him as somebody who was so dedicated to. Just when you listen to their music, I mean, like, his solos are so out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really based on another type of, famous metal or hard rock guitar players stuff. Like the way he plays solos is so his own thing, right? And it's weird. It's like, again, that fuzz guitar, like, kind of jazzy, like it's out there. But he's doing his own thing, and I had to imagine that the amount of work and dedication that he put into his craft. It must have been met with a lot of frustration when people just weren't getting it. There must have been a lot of beating heads against the wall in terms of like, well, this isn't really taking off in the way we want it to.
Yeah, the other guys in the band felt that. You could never really tell with Jerry because, like I said, he was a man of very few words.
Sure.
But that's why his playing is so unique, because he was a very unique guy. He was like, every once in a while you get into a really interesting conversation with him, but that was rare because he was so shy he didn't really want to say anything. But
Gotcha.
it clearly came out. So I don't really. I mean, he very well could have been feeling that, but I don't know that anybody would have any idea if he did.
Yeah. And it's cool too. Like when I did sign up for their Patreon and they uploaded these photographs. I mean, these guys were playing as Cirith Ungol, which of course we have to also mention real quick, based on Lord of the Rings lore, of course. But they pronounced it wrong as their own band name. It's actually Cirith Ungol, which to me adds more, kind of an amazing, element to this whole band to begin with. But it's, Cirith Ungol, and but they were playing in 1974. They were playing as teenagers, and there's photographs of them playing some like Vietnam protest or something. So it's just so hard to imagine when you're listening to King of the Dead that these guys, an entire decade earlier, were playing at a Vietnam War protest, and just like, again, and that's what, like, if you're in 1974, I mean, the stuff you're into Zeppelin, you're into Deep Purple, you're into a different, just generation of heaviness that, of course, is being brought into this 80s doom metal band, and that's why you're getting these eclectic, more interesting influences. Then it's like, okay, well, Metallica just did this record, so we're gonna kind of riff on that. No, these guys are riffing on way different stuff. And I think that's what's so cool about all of this. Now to look back.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. They were so unique. It didn't help them in that scene in the early days, but it ended up being that way. Like I said, one of those bands that I just always loved, because they're such nice guys too, and I always felt I felt bad that we at Metal Blade couldn't make more of it happen for them. It's like, man, it just kind of sucks. But
they were ahead of it. It might have just not been the right time.
They were way ahead of their time.
Yeah. So
that's always the way it is, right? The ones who are ahead of their time.
It's true, and they find their way. They find their way.
Yeah, you talk about artists, so many like famous, people that did art, like real art, like passed away before, anybody knew they were any good. So
these guys are the Franz Kafka of metal, perhaps. Yes. Yeah.
Or, so many of those. But Jerry was kind of that way too. Like he was so out there that people couldn't appreciate him until sadly after he went on.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. So I highly encourage anyone who's listening and you're into Sabbath, you're into Candlemass, whatever, like check this out. It's those first two albums are cover to cover awesome, and no matter what, it's the perfect aesthetic. I mean, that black light poster airbrush van aesthetic is, to me, that's the peak aesthetic of anything. I'm saying it. I don't mean to be hyperbolic, but that's the coolest aesthetic there is. And these guys are the full distillation of that. It's the best.
Well, you nailed that right on the head. So I'm going to say we're going to end it now. Thank you so
Okay.
much for doing this, my friend.
Yeah, man.
We could talk all day, but the podcast people won't let me. So.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Anytime to talk about Cirith Ungol, I'm game. And thank you so much for all the help you did also on Into the Void. Really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, of course. And I'll also go check out Dark Side of the Ring if you're a wrestling fanatic, because that series. It's how many seasons do you have now?
We are currently working on our 7th season of the show, which is gnarly. Yeah, it's
that
crazy.
Is impressive. Awesome.
70 hours of wrestling documentaries this past 8 years that we've been doing. So nuts.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again, my friend. And
All
you
right.
can't leave because we have to upload the audio. So
of course, I know.